Endless expanses of wilderness and almost entirely uninhabited. The Kimberley region in Western Australia. The huge area which extends all the way to the Indian Ocean is pasture land for huge herds of cattle. It's only possible to round up the animals by helicopter. Rick Ford is a true master of this art. And he's a family man. The next town is hundreds of kilometres away. It's a life in complete isolation.
We just live our own life here and we're happy doing it, and there's no one to judge.
A region of otherworldly beauty. But it's also threatened by the sad fate of the Australian Aborigines.
If we don't have that language, then we're just nobody. So we're just the Aboriginal person that has nothing.
The Kimberley region, inaccessible, unique and full of secrets. Rick Ford is a cattle farmer, and he never wanted to be anything else. His father bred cattle before him. He learned everything from him that he needs to know about this job. Now at just 31 years of age, Rick Ford is in charge of more than 16,000 cattle. The animals, Brahman cattle, graze on an area of 1.7 million hectares. This breed has adapted particularly well to the Earth's hot tropical regions. Rick Ford greatly enjoys the calm in the morning. He has an exhausting day ahead. He needs to round up 2,000 cattle as he wants to sell them. It's a big challenge. He never knows in advance how his animals will react to him.
You can't muster the same mob of cattle tomorrow and they'll do the same thing. It's just they won't do that because they've got their own brains. So that's the exciting thing about it. You can try and outsmart them or muster them a different way, but tomorrow's going to be different because they've got 1,200, 2,000 head of cattle with their own brains. The wind could be different. They might want to water at that watering point. So it's always exciting and challenging in that regard because they're their own people basically, and they're out here to survive too.
A herd of this size can't be rounded up by just one person. Christopher Bateman helps Rick Ford on the ground. He's going to oversee the operation. His boss is taking his herd in his sights from the air. The two men are a perfect team. It takes years of experience to find the free-range cattle that graze all over the huge area. Rick Ford has some experience. He got his helicopter pilot's license when he was just 18. After 6 months of special training, during which he learned cattle herding from the air, he started this daring job. Using a bull catcher, Chris Bateman prevents the animals from running in the wrong direction.
Yeah, just give me a call. Yeah, roger. Yeah, where are left, yeah?
Cattle are sensitive animals and react strongly to the sounds of the helicopter.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a rattle up happening here, just not real flicking happy. Yeah, I'll just take a bit of pressure off. Yeah, we're right back here under the fence.
The pilot's skill consists in dominating the herd with the helicopter. That means Rick Ford has to fly in a way that controls the animals but doesn't make them nervous. One bull is enough to stir up the whole herd. After 4 hours in the air, the farmer desperately needs a break. Physically, flying is child's play for him, but it's a big psychological strain. There are helicopter crashes with fatal consequences almost every year in the Kimberley region. His family wait anxiously for him to return.
He went wide.
If you're flying low to the ground with no airspeed on, it's called the dead man's curve. So in the mustering game, sometimes you have to be in there, and that's all part of it. You've got to accept that if you want to get the job done properly. The more of the time you can minimise the amount of time that you're in that curve, well, the longer you'll live, and that's what you've got to try and do, is try and be effective to get the cattle in, safe for yourself, and get home and see your family every day. And that's a big part of it, you know, trying to minimise the amount of risk that you take.
What to any ordinary person looks like the suicidal caprioles of a daredevil pilot are precision attacks on the cattle. None of the animals are allowed to escape. Neither in the air nor on the ground. By the end of the day, Rick Ford and his team have achieved their goal. Around 2,000 cattle have been rounded up.
It gives you some self-worth if you can produce a good line of cattle and then go and, you know, set them all up for sale, and you can walk across a good mob of cattle and you've got your brand on them, and you just give you some privilege and some pride to see that you're producing good cattle, you know.
Dusk comes early in the Kimberley region. With an area of 425 square kilometres, the Kimberley region is almost as big as Austria and Germany put together. But the population of only 40,000 gets lost in this vast landscape. At 7 on the dot, it's time for dinner. They all eat together. That's part of the firm ritual on Springvale Farm. Rick Ford has hired 12 employees for the cattle season. He chose them together with his wife Stacey in face-to-face conversations.
I'm
discounted, you're right.
The seasonal helpers should have an open, friendly personality and get on with each other. Team spirit is particularly important for them.
Is there a way to get into the top?
If I was to not eat here, I find that if you don't eat here and the manager's up here on a pedestal and they're down here, why doesn't he come and eat with us? It creates an us and him, a him and them. Why can't he come and eat what we've got to eat and all this sort of stuff? It's just nonsense. So we try to always eat down here with the staff, just to make a good team ethic. as a big group, because, you know, if I'm not going to go and get my hands dirty in the yard, why should I expect all my workers to do it for me? So they've got to have the same amount of respect for me as I have for them.
The next day, the weather suddenly changes. It pours continuously, even though the rainy season is over. This is the heaviest April rainfall in this region since records began in 1918.
Yesterday, that riverbed there was dry. It was a sandy crossing all the way across it yesterday. It's running about 1 metre deep there at the moment. For our workload today, it's put us back. We've got cattle in the yard and that we were going to turn out on horses today, but that's obviously we can't get out to the main road now because the road crosses this river, so no travel today except possibly out to the yard in a helicopter a bit later on today once the weather breaks up a little bit.
He's very concerned about the herd they rounded up yesterday. There's a real risk that all the hard work was for nothing. Rick Ford knows that the animals can't last long on soggy ground in such close proximity. The extent of the unusually heavy rainfall can only be seen from the air. The farm building is underwater. The tranquil bathing spot has become a raging torrent. As always, when Rick Ford is up in the air, he's in contact with his wife Stacey via radio.
Later on this day, it'll just depend how bad the cattle cut up in the yard, but in the morning.
Yeah, okay, no worries. We'll let them know that the trucks can get on their way then.
I don't think, no worries.
I've never been one to worry, and I've probably always taken a few risks. I've always liked a bit of adventure and stuff like that, which I think is what drew me to this lifestyle. You know, I always wanted to live in the bush and on a station, particularly in the north, because that's where all the action happens and it's on a big scale, and I really like it.
But the remote nature of the Kimberleys also bears risks. The nearest hospital is 400 kilometres away. That's why Stacey Ford is responsible for medical care.
With the lifestyle that these guys live, a lot of things happen. There's a lot of falls off horses. There's a lot of, you know, fellas getting hurt in the yards and all sorts of rashes and stuff like that. And they just come to me and tell me what the symptoms are if they're able. And I get on the phone to the Royal Flying Doctor, who is a doctor living in the city, and they give me advice. We talk about it over the phone. It's fantastic, and we heavily rely on this system.
Rick Ford has spent more than 4,000 hours flying. That's why he is confident he can cope as a pilot in this poor weather. It's the only way to get to his cattle. The roads on his farm are flooded and impassable. The vet was meant to assess the herd today. Rick Ford has to reschedule that appointment. He's flying back to the farm to inform his employees about the state of the tracks and the animals. But such an unexpected day of rain also has benefits. They all get the rest of the day off.
Mother Nature, she gets it right sometimes, but you just got to work with her. We can't always let her, we can't control what she does, so we just got to work with her.
The spectacular landscape of the Kimberley region is located in the northern tip of Western Australia. Its most significant symbol, the Bungle Bungles, towers shaped like beehives. They were shaped from soft sandstone, river sediment over the course of 350 million years. The orange and black coloration of the countless domes was created as a result of the different clay contents in the various layers. The Bungles were only discovered by chance by a film crew in 1983. Just 20 years later, UNESCO declared this unique rock formation a World Heritage Site. The Aborigines, on the other hand, have known about them for a lot longer. In order to protect this spectacular region, Purnululu National Park was set up. As a ranger, Lindsay Brown has been responsible for preserving and caring for this huge area for more than 10 years now. It's the beginning of May, the start of the tourist season. Together with his employees, the 55-year-old has to prepare the car parks for caravans. The boss isn't just mindful of the tourists, but also of the animals.
This is one of Australia's icon lizards, the frill-necked lizard, and quite common throughout the Kimberley. This big threat display here wards off predators and also attracts females when it comes to making more.
There's enough work for the rangers all year round in the national park, but from May onwards, when autumn starts in Australia and the European visitors arrive, it's peak season, a real challenge.
The closest town where we get most of our supplies, stores and materials for construction and maintenance, 305 kilometres away. And we're 3,500 kilometres from a capital city. So the transportation and the cost of materials and the time it takes to get materials up here is extraordinary. So you're virtually doubling your cost to run the park.
Originally, the Bungle Bungles were a gigantic block with smaller and larger cracks, but over many millions of years, the harsh weather, with strong winds and torrential rain, as well as temperatures of up to 50 degrees in summer and below zero in the winter, has given the rocks their current appearance. Lindsay Brown is very aware of his responsibility towards the Aborigines, who own this land to this day.
The indigenous people, there is evidence here that they've been in this landscape for 20 to 30,000 years or more. They've been here for a long time. Now, we have come along and taken over the management of their land, probably not by their choice, but that's the way it is. You can't change the history. However, we are working with those people, consulting and negotiating with those people in what we can do on their country.
Vincent Edwards, an Aboriginal, was born and bred here. For the past 15 years, he's been a member of the ranger team in Purnululu National Park. He knows these hills better than almost anyone.
The Bungles to me means like it's my home. I've been coming here for years, and my family, my grandmothers and grandfathers told me culturally a lot about this place, told me to look after it and care for it, make sure that no one's doing anything wrong to anything, to watch some of the burial grounds, stuff like that, make sure no one go there.
Vincent Edwards wants to maintain the family tradition. That's why the 43-year-old Aborigine looks after his ancestors' cult sites. They're regarded as sacred.
This is a small Aboriginal campsite. You can tell that by women and men utensils, stone axe, a spear thrower, and the coolamans, like a wooden carrot bowl, and the hand stencils, adults and children. It's one of the many campsites in the park. It was used in the wet season time.
For millions of years, life in the Kimberleys has been determined by the seasons. 90% of precipitation falls in the summertime wet season between October and April. The climate is tropical and monsoon-like. Between May and September, it's winter and the climate is dry. After dark, a highly venomous intruder keeps the rangers on their toes. The cane toad. It was introduced into Australia in 1935 to fight pests on the sugarcane plantations. Now this giant toad has become a plague and a deadly danger for the native fauna.
The poison comes out of glands. There are 2 glands on each shoulder. As you can see, there's some coming out at the moment. So there are a lot of animals endangered. There's actually snakes, lizards, goannas, crocodiles, for example. In Northern Territory, they say 80% of the crocodiles disappeared after the cane toads moved in. So whether we have the same thing happen here, it'll be a big impact on the ecosystem here.
The toad has virtually no natural predators in Australia and has therefore been able to spread rapidly all over the continent. Hunting the toads is a Sisyphean labour. The animals are extremely fertile. A single female produces up to 40,000 eggs twice a year. Cane toads are considered a prime example of the incredible risks of wantonly introducing a new species in order to fight pests. Back at Springvale Farm. It's shortly before sunrise. Breakfast time. The weather has improved. The rain is gone. It's time to go to the cattle. Rick Ford has to hurry because the vet is to inspect his herd today. Everyday life is starting on the farm too. For the children, that means school. But here, like everywhere else in the remote Kimberley region, there's no normal school. The 4 girls' classroom is right next to the kitchen.
It's the longer one and the up is the short sound.
You. Che, che, che. Ooh. Qua. E. Ow.
Stacey Ford teaches her children on 6 days a week.
11 words.
Each one has her own timetable. School starts at 8 o'clock in the morning.
And tie them on string. I was always a little bit nervous about teaching my own kids. You know, you have mum and then you have the school teacher, and I didn't know if we could change those roles and mum be the school teacher too, but I thought, well, I'm going to give it a crack, and I did. And it goes really well. The kids respond very well to me. I didn't know if they'd try and be a bit naughty because it's mum, but they don't. They go really well. Right from the start, I set the rules, and I said, okay, we're here to do work until we don't leave the schoolroom until our work is done.
The school in Derby, 1,000 kilometres away, sets the curriculum and also provides all the teaching materials. Once a day, the children communicate with their teachers via computer.
Okay, and we'll go out to the East Kimberleys now. So good morning, Pippa, Shay and Tess, and how are you three today?
Good morning, Mr. Burgess, and we're good today.
The parents themselves determine how long they teach the children at home.
For the last 2 days.
The goal in the end is to make sure that these kids are educated and educated well. And that's what keeps me going. That's what brings me into the schoolroom every morning. I know that if by the end of this year Tess hasn't learnt the basics of reading, I'm the only one to blame. And that's probably what keeps you going the most. If these kids fail, it's because I haven't put in the effort.
Somebody also needs to take care of the horses on Springvale Farm. There are around 30 of them on the paddock here. A passionate rider and horse lover, Chris Bateman is responsible for looking after the animals.
It's like us, we don't go to work without shoes on, and you expect the horses to do more walking than we do, so it just saves their feet, don't make them go lame. Yep. We just put a shoe on him for the same reason we put a shoe on ourselves.
The 22-year-old, who grew up on a farm himself, needs to live in such an isolated place.
I can't stand town. I can't stand big, massive people. They just annoy me. If you don't love it, like I said, you go mad, and you're never happy here. You just want to go back to town. It's not just a job, it's a lifestyle and a passion.
It's an attitude to life with which Rick and Stacey Ford's children are growing up quite naturally.
I feel that giving them a childhood that's free and easy and that no stress to have to conform to what everyone else is doing, I think they're good roots, and I think that you need good roots to grow a good tree. When everyone says, why do you live here? I always say it's for the freedom. We don't have to worry about what cars everyone else is driving, what they're wearing. I don't need to worry about fashion, keeping up with everyone else. We just live our own life here, and we're happy doing it, and there's no one to judge.
Everything in the Kimberleys is a bit different, a bit bigger. That's true of the family's larder too, and that's necessary because hardly any vegetables are able to grow on the region's barren soils. Once a year, the mother of 4 orders her food. It's delivered by truck from the capital, Perth, 3,500 kilometres away. That's cheaper than buying it at the local supermarket, but there are costs to living in such a remote region.
That's probably something that we all whinge about, is not having the fresh fruit and the fresh veggies and having that variety. But these are the things you just put up with to be able to live here, and you get used to tin fruit.
It's a life that demands a great deal of those who live it. They don't get holidays and at best get to visit the capital, Perth, for a few days each year. But now they have to focus entirely on the 2,000 cattle that are for sale. Rick Ford is getting an initial overview of the herd's condition. How much will they sell for?
They're a bit sticky back there, aren't they?
The cattle live in complete freedom all year round on Springvale Farm. They reproduce in the natural manner too.
These cattle are in really good condition. They're coming out of the end of the wet season, so we've got plenty of grass. The grass is still green. They're fat. You can see this cow over here, as she comes out, she's carrying a lot of extra dimples over her rump. We call her rump near her tail. So she's in really prime condition. Same with this next big yellow cow here, or this grey cow looking at us now. She's carrying really good coverage, and she's full and you can't see her ribs. So the season's been kind to the old girls, so they're in really, really top condition for us coming out of the wet season.
It's very important for the breeder to know which of the female cattle are in calf. To check that, the animals have to be sorted out. Calves, bulls, heifers, and potentially pregnant females.
Cow! Cow!
The cows are briefly restrained, then the vet does his thing.
Lucky you made it steel, Dave. Yeah, empty.
It's essential to know for managerial purposes. So if they're empty, they're no good to us because we produce beef cattle to raise beef. So if they're not in calf, they're eating up our grass for no particular good reason, you know. So if they haven't got a calf, they get sold because they're not producing calves for us. And if they're pregnant, like the bigger percentage is here today, that's a good thing for us because we have calves that foot next year, and that way we've got sales and productivity and money turnover.
The cattle carrier will arrive tomorrow. Rick Ford has selected 200 cattle for sale. The Kimberleys have been the land of the Aborigines for thousands of years. They don't see themselves as owners in the traditional sense. They consider themselves keepers and guardians. They take from the soil what they need to live without putting it at risk. When the white farmers arrived in the mid-19th century demanding room for their cattle, they lost their freedom. They're not benefiting from the wealth of resources in the Kimberleys. The Argyle mine is the world's largest diamond mine. The world-famous pink diamond is mined here. The Aborigines were pushed more and more from their land as a result of the mine's expansion. Robbed of their homeland, they became a homeless, enslaved people. Many of them fled to towns and cities, but unable to adapt to Western ways of life, they lead lives on the margins of society. The Kununurra Language Centre is a positive exception. Committed members of the Mirrawong tribe are fighting the seemingly unstoppable decline. They've made it their job to preserve their language and culture. David Newry spent years fighting for this centre, and with success. Today, there are regular language courses in his language, Mirrawong.
Our language is, you have to grow up with it, to learn it. It's not something where you can learn by reading it and then you know it all. You have to grow up with the language to be able to understand it,
Mirrawong is a very complicated language. There are 1,500 different verb forms. Knut Olavsky doesn't know anywhere near all of them, but the German linguist has found his life's vocation.
It was a Mirrawong initiative to preserve their language. They themselves recognized that they were in trouble and needed someone to help them. They needed a linguist, and they invited me to help them. I see it as a privilege, but it's a near impossible task. But that's also what makes this challenge interesting. My goal is to raise new generations of speakers.
And to achieve that, he goes down unusual avenues, a language excursion into the Australian outback. Inspired by their pristine environment, the old and last active speakers of the Mirrawong are to teach the younger ones about their culture and tradition. Commissioned by the tribal elder, Knut Olavsky is documenting the scene with his camera to give subsequent generations a chance to learn the language.
Language is the one that really identifies one as to who we are. Like I'm Mirrawong, I'm only Mirrawong by language. And if we don't have that language, then we're just nobody. So we're just the Aboriginal person that has nothing. If we don't keep our tradition, then our identity would be lost with it. So as Mirrawong people, we have to keep practicing these kind of thing we do and teach back to our children as well.
David Newry wants to show his grandson how to make a spear.
You know, when we learn, we don't talk. We just observe, and learn from that way. And no ask question. Just look and learn.
While David Newry hardens the spear over the fire in the traditional manner, young Mirrawong men watch him keenly. His grandson is the first to be allowed to try the spear. David Newry has made it his life's work to ensure that his descendants don't lose the identity and language of the Mirrawong tribe.
There is a bit of a danger of it being lost, but I doubt it if that will be lost because of the centre that we have. And that's the language centre, of course. While we can supply the information to the language centre, hopefully the kids can pick up material, modern material, such as visual material, videos and pictures book about how to make one and where to look for it. All that information will be supplied through the language centre,
David Newry won't give up hope that the unique culture in the land of his ancestors won't be lost. It's a land that feels like it's at the end of the world, remote and with endless open spaces. Cattle land. The road train has arrived at Springvale Farm. Time to load up the cattle. It's the first delivery after the rainy season, and Rick Ford is very proud of the good condition of his herd. Now the animals just have to make it safely onto the road train.
We don't want them up on the truck and then coming back down this race that we're standing beside, and we don't want them also to turn around in here, because if they turn around they slow the flow up, and then once they've stopped the flow, the rest of the cattle don't want to draw on and they don't know the direction. See, they like to mob together, so they like to flow and follow each other. So if one gets left behind, that's not desirable.
"200 animals will be loaded up today. That's a total weight of around 60 tonnes. They've built up their slaughter weight for around 2 years on the endless plains of the Kimberleys. Rick Ford sells 5,000 cattle per year, but he wants that number to be a lot higher. He gets $500 per head on average, a good price. He's earned 100,000 Australian dollars today, less all the costs. It's not easy money.
With them leaving today, it means we've got cash flow. They're going to sale, so that gives us good pride. You know, we know that we're going to get paid this week. You know, so that's always a good thing. And they're a good line of Brahmins, so we're pretty happy with their quality. Yeah, pretty good day really. After the rain, and we finally got them on the truck, so yeah, it was good.
Rick Ford only has a few months each year to see his animals off. The season in the Kimberleys is short. The roads are only passable for the road train during the dry season from April to October. For many months of the year, the region is almost completely cut off from the rest of Australia. Those who live in the Kimberleys have long got used to it. They've chosen life in a remote location in harmony with their overwhelming environment.